Well, guys, nice to meet you. I'm
And you.
Valentina from Warner Channel Brazil. This is, I think, the most difficult interview I have to do because I have to deliver a job interviewing you, but I have to be cool about being in Dumbledore's office. It's
Take
so
it all
hard.
in. Take it all in before we start.
Sorting hats up there.
Oh my God.
But you know what? Making these films, you have to give up attempting to be cool because you're constantly in awe with your jaw dropped.
If you listen carefully enough, the past whispers to you.
So guys, it's just too much. And then I see you here and it's just like a jet-lagged dream. Thank you for having me. And Jude, I would like to start with you. You know, it seems like Grindelwald and Dumbledore kind of have the same purpose at the beginning, like taking care of the magical world. What makes Dumbledore a hero?
And Grindelwald not, you mean?
I didn't say that, but yeah.
I think the simple answer is Dumbledore's empathy and embrace of the Muggle world. It's that simple. Wizards are magical and have, therefore, you've got to admit a power, an extraordinary power. And Muggles are weaker. And I think one thing we should all feel, or at least take the responsibility for, is looking after the less powerful, looking after people who are less fortunate. And in this regard, Muggles and wizards and witches have a sort of a distance between them. And rather than seeing them as weak or lesser, he sees them as equals.
I love that in this movie we have great brothers and sisters relations. Yes. So for Dumbledore, how do you think that Aberforth in it changed him?
Well, sadly, I think that Aberforth is symbolic of a lot of regret. And that there's this broken friendship, relationship, bond with someone he cares so much about. There's a certain stubbornness also, a sort of fraternal stubbornness where neither will fully admit that the other has done something wrong, but it just hangs rather distastefully in the air. And at least the progress of this story sees them coming out of that a little.
And for you, Eddie, how do you think your relation with Callum changed for this?
Well, I adore Callum, firstly. Callum and I grew up randomly about 2 minutes from each other. We didn't know each other, but we had quite a lot of shared experience. I love how their relationship changes in this movie because he's like the extrovert, he's this kind of schoolboy hero. Newt is the antithesis of that. And so they've never really worked together before. They've almost been antagonists, but part of, I think, Dumbledore's mission here, because Dumbledore always, he has the obvious thing that people are trying to achieve, and then he's doing something more subtle and deeper, which is forcing these two to go out into the world and find each other. And I love doing that.
Eddie, Newt kind of gets, I want to know, what do you think is what Newt gets from, magical creatures that he might not get from other wizards?
Oh, I think that judgment is probably the thing. He doesn't get judged by his creatures because as a human being, he's introverted. He doesn't necessarily fit norms of how people expect wizards to behave. He has eccentricities that cause him in his everyday life to be judged, and the creatures don't do that. They see him for who he is.
It's kind of like having a dog, isn't it?
There you go.
He will never judge you. You can
Never
punish
judge,
him, do
exactly.
whatever, and he still comes to you and loves you.
Now I'd like to say that I was talking to David, you know, my friend over there, and we were talking about the slow motion scenes too. So how did you prepare for those also in those big sets? Was it any different?
You can't really prepare for those other than the normal way. And hope.
The camera does the work, right?
Yeah, camera does all the work.
Like Jude wasn't doing.
No any faces.
Although you could.
I tried and it really didn't work. It didn't work at all.
Saved quite a lot of money, that.
It did.
It has always been obvious. I'm a Potterhead, obviously, and that Dumbledore always sends people in these missions, and people tend to judge him because he stays at his office. I want to know if there's any mission he has sent people to that you wish you could have been a part of.
Personally?
Yeah, why not?
I'm someone who loves to be out and about, so I would have gone on all of them. Happily, because also he has an ability to draw out the best in people and perhaps draw out something that they themselves don't know they have the capacity to fulfill. And it tends to make them bigger, better, braver, more fully formed humans, or individuals. And so if anyone would do that for me, I'd definitely go on it.
And it would have been easier for everyone else, come on,
Exactly.
to have Dumbledore along.
I couldn't agree more. And then at moments in this film, he just pitches up out of nowhere, and I'm like, all right, mate, could have been here all along.
In the years to come, what do you think it will be your fondest memory about shooting this movie?
Well, for me, I think it was just going back to work. We came out of lockdown. We were one of the first films allowed to, we got all the protocol in place and we were allowed back on set. It was also one of the first times for me stepping into a second film with a familiar group. So there was a familial bond and excitement. So I think the interaction of us as a group, and obviously the opportunity to really delve into Dumbledore's past, but for me it was working with you guys.
For me, it was all of those things. plus the set. There was this one set in China that was the biggest, most dramatic set I've ever seen. It had 3 or 4 pump systems to make waterfalls. The pumps are the only 3 that exist in the country that had to be sort of brought down. And it was, when it was all turned on, it looked like a full-on mountainside. And it was just, the kid in me was like, wow, you get to make movies on a set that is as extreme and extraordinary as that. No imagination required.
Oh my God.
I had that a little bit in the Berlin set, where they had, 3 streets of Berlin in the 30s with trams and cars, snow. Every window shop had, authentic produce that would have been sold back in the day.
Yeah.
Hundreds of extras in. I mean, it was extraordinary.
Things are not quite what they appear.